So the more humor, even if it's very serious, especially when it's very serious, then it's just a
an internet glitch. Welcome, Heidi. We've been doing a check-in question. What would you like to offer the session? Sorry, Heiko, you glitched there first. No, not at all. You glitched for me anyway. I'm not sure if anybody else could hear you, but there was a dead spot. So I was just welcoming Heidi and letting her know the check-in questions. What do you have to bring to the session on decision making, and what would you like to get out of it? Thanks, Heiko. Please do carry on.
Okay, and so by the way, I found a tool, and can I say the producer who developed it, or is it too is it okay? Yes. Okay. The brand mark is C7 Tools. It's internationally patented in Zurich, and it looks like this. So like this. It's called Clear Decider, and yes, so it works on a subconscious level, but helps also always on. Yes, that's right. That's right. And it helps to find out, to think about your own decisions, or helps a whole group or a nation. So it's very flexible. This tool never runs out of being updated. And especially for people in astrology scene, for example, who believe that they are, big groups who believe that if they are born in Arius, they have fear of making decisions. So they have to ask an expert, is it okay if I do it like this and that, although they are very competent in everything they do. So it would be useful to make, to make a fear relief session, or to make a camouflage installation of a phasphobia cure. So if they ask, when do you start to tell us what you want to do, I can say, yeah, it's over. I'm finished with it, what I want to say. Yeah. So and what I want to find out here in this session is how can I be, I'm thankful to myself and to everyone who I acknowledge it, that I'm thankful. I believe that I can be in facilitating, and I want to know how it is for me and for the group and for everyone in this global challenges collaboration group. So I want to live it, experience it. So it's the first session I'm taking part. Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Josh?
Thank you. Hi guys, my name's Josh Pasmore. I'm here in Costa Rica and putting together a little synergy hub village. So we're actually creating space agreements and decision making and all that stuff. We've got a model that we've some of us have signed up to, and you know, but we're still in that creation phase, you know, much as you guys and much as a lot of these groups right now, as decisions are such a critical piece of moving forward. I mean, we can sign up to a master plan and then know exactly what we're going to do together. But then when things change, we also have to be signed up to the same decision making. Otherwise, things fail. So we kind of have to have that in the beginning. So very important discussion. My purpose here, or my intention, is to, you know, I really like the question, so I want to just add those into anything that we do, and, you know, just really like comb through everything. My presentation is not ready. My proposal to really like, I mean, I think I'd just like to participate in the conversation for now, and maybe gather those who want to look at further stuff, you know, more focused. Welcome to message me, and we can do that. I can email it or whatever, however that works. I'm fine with it. Okay, thanks, guys.
Hey, Josh, what time zone are you in?
It's mountain right now.
Okay.
It's 1:30.
And Heiko, what time zone are you in?
Time zone. Middle European time zone. So it's 21, 9:30 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Let me jump.
in. Yeah, go ahead, Heiner.
Let me jump in because I couldn't really answer the question of Tammy. I think it is about transparency of shared leadership, and I think we are only on very early embryonic steps. We still have not a common time. We in our sessions always discuss which zone you are in.
Heiner, you've glitched.
I think this is we are not getting to the roots of the matter.
Heiner, you glitched. You may have to kill your video. You may have to kill your video, and maybe we can get audio.
Okay, I think he's dropped off, and I think it's amazing that he's able to join our video call from on his way along the Black Sea, like that, on a bus.
In a bus.
A bus in Hungary, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Heiner, if you try turning off your camera, maybe we can get continuous audio from you.
Okay, smart move. You're a wise man.
Much better.
No, I'm not in Hungary. I'm in Romania towards Bulgaria in a moment, or in maybe 2-3 hours.
Love it.
So we can hear you perfectly now.
So we only heard you talk about the time before, Heiner, about the frustrations with the times. And so can you repeat, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we do. Yeah.
Okay, I was playing a little bit with my frustration about time. In our group sessions, we always say, are you Eastern or Western time? I had this big frustration suddenly being not Central European time, but 1 hour early. And that was quite a shock because I didn't pack and I immediately had to evacuate. So if we cannot think globally, like what is the world time and what is my local time, then we're having so much frustration. But that is only the beginning of this decision-making process. We are bumping into each other through very, very silly things. And I'm being a global nomad of the air or whatever I've been in the past, I'm deeply frustrated.
I'll pick that up just a little bit there. Thank you, Heiner. Yeah, the times. It ties in a little bit to the thought that I had, is that in coming a little bit out of the call that Doug was on yesterday with me, the sense of presence, you know, and presence has that meaning of now as well. And it's time, I'm hearing this, of course, because it's what I came in with. I'm hearing a number of people speak to the need for, or the want for, the depth connection. And the depth connection is now, is our sense of being held by or being in presence. We're in a field of presence. And the more that we're noticing that field, to some extent, our ego concerns, which are well represented by our little boxes here, that were our Hollywood squares, our ego concerns somewhat loosen, and we become aware of a common field or presence that we're occupying. And my understanding is that if we can, the decision is to make some choices to welcome that depth connection and presence. They're to choose a way to do that for those who will choose to. And when we're somewhat looser on our ego concerns about our projects and our ideas, but focusing on the present, from there it becomes self-evident, or it becomes clear and immediate what we should do or what should be done. So decisions appear pre-done, pre-organized by another part of us when we're richly experiencing presence. So the challenge is to richly experience presence, because then we just see as a kind of no-brainer what we have to do. The more that we're aligned, presence is an alignment with the present moment. And we see what needs to be done then. And of course, not everybody will be experiencing that to the same richness as other people may. So there'll be natural alignments to do different projects and go off, and natural alignments of people wanting to do different things. So we don't have to, I guess I'm here just to speak for for the centrality of experiencing and enjoying being present together, connected together in a way that we feel safe and permeable for new ideas and new ways to come into us, and to skillfully notice when those appear, and then those who want will choose to just develop them. Just kind of, okay, we need the tech part, we need to do that, but to start off from the ego's position is, in my view, not going. It's that's how we got to this problem. That's how we got separate, and we are separate. We are unique. We don't stop being unique. But I'd emphasize the practice of presence and work with that. That's what I'm interested in myself. It's the contribution I'd like to be part of here, and what I'd like to enjoy with you. So with that, I'm complete.
Okay, I'll chime in. Is the sound okay? Yeah, okay. Yes. Yeah, what I came with, what I wanted. I come with a couple of questions and few ideas. Maybe lead. Maybe I want to leave knowing what decision to make. Maybe. Yeah, the first thing I wondered about, of course, is what kind of decisions have to be made, and I think I'm pretty close to Andrew here. Actually, the presencing is the most important part of the GCC, I think, at the moment, and probably in the future as well. The space itself of coming together in a way where there is that presence being built between us, and then an understanding develops, and at a certain point it becomes clear what needs to be done from each person's point of view. That seems to be the main decision-making procedure I see at the moment. There's decisions of how to show up, what to bring, what to ask, what to say, when to say it. So these are the personal decisions, the decisions of what to focus on, what next steps to make, and if this is done right, then we have a process which will inform that, and at certain moments it will be very clear what needs to be done. Yes, I believe that. If it's not clear, I probably wouldn't trust it. I probably wouldn't consider it to be ready yet. Anyway, that's one level. There's also other decisions, sort like what kind of topics do we want to talk about? What kind of subjects do we want to schedule? So this is a decision that a few people make when they, like Sammy made the decision for this theme today, and that's also considering, of course, where we are. But again, that's also a decision that one person makes, and then other people make decisions about whether to show up and what to say and how to follow through, and then decisions about maybe suggestions we have, proposals. I guess that might come into that. So maybe William will talk about place to put proposals. Might be a more complex thing. That's a personal decision that you can make to create a proposal, and then other people will decide to engage in it, what way to engage. So there's those elements. And then there's also the practical things, like there's one specific example I wanted to mention was, let's say we want to put all the videos to the web page. It's a large number of videos. So that's certainly an example where we might want to make a decision. Audio scuffling sounds, okay. Yeah, I'll wrap this up anyway. But that's maybe one example where we may want to decide this person does that month, that person does that month after, etc. So that's, of course, given that we figured out it's a good idea to put the videos to the web page. I think that's already been agreed upon. So that's sort of one example of place where we might want to make a collective decision, sort of where who does what month, for example. But the core decision-making process, as far as I see, is the sense-making process itself, which comes from the presencing that Andrew mentioned. And that each person makes their own decisions about how to engage with it. Yeah, that's the main thing.
What's with the hood, Doug?
I'm just freezing.
Is that what it is?
Ever since the sub-zero wedding in a barn on Saturday that I was subjected to, I've yet to recover.
Layers. Yeah. Somebody else was wearing a hoodie. It was Sam, and I'm thinking, okay, I didn't get the memo. Yeah. What do I have to offer? I think to listen, because I'm pretty well plugged into what's going on, and so I'll offer my time, or save yours, and just listen at this point. If anybody has any questions, that would be good if they have them right now, or if not, we'll continue on.
Jaswinder? So I think we still have Harry, Jaswinder, Dimitri, and myself to check in. Alex as well, perhaps. It's harder to feel the entire room when there's 16, 17 participants. So I invite you to check yourself, but seeing as how I'm speaking, I'll check in. Oh, okay. Alex, go for it.
I did what I was suggested to explain who I was, what I wanted to get out of it, and what I was bringing.
So Tammy, I think you're up.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm bringing is a heartfelt need to figure this out with you all, and to really hear what's missing, hear what people are bringing and what's missing. What is the gap? Part of what I realized is that I have a collaboration process that I haven't made explicit. It's more of an implicit way. Like, I have an idea, and then I reach out to trusted humans and get their advisement and thoughts. And then I put something out to the community. And then I ask for others what do they have that's like that? And then what I'd like to do is have group processes where we're able to look at that so that we can come out with something that we can test. So it's not a decision-making arc, but it could be. It's more of a collaboration arc with a hope to experience the practice of collective intelligence. So that's part of what I have to offer this session, is this heartfelt need to experience that process. And what I'd like to get out of it is a protocol or a series of protocols that we can look at further and do whatever next steps we can do to test them. That's what I got. And Heidi, I'm not sure you've checked in either.
No, I haven't. And I'm not yet really tuned in because I had a lot on my plate today, and it's almost, not long before 10 o'clock in the evening. I bring a lot of tiredness, let's say, but also excitement for the things I did before. And decision making, what I would like that comes out of the session would be really a sort of a plan how to come to decision, not necessarily how to make them, but how to converge so that the decision process comes to the point where decisions can be done. I think I'm complete.
Okay, I need. Hi, I'm Harry van der Velde in Europe, the Netherlands. So it's 10 to 10 here in the Netherlands. I bring a lot of doubt and thoughts. I've always used my brain to understand stuff, and now these problems have the kind of complexity that the brain just can't grok it. I can just grasp it, not just. That's difficult, so I try to navigate by felt sense and all that. That's a new terrain for me. But I'm very grateful for the things I already heard, because this is a huge thing that since humans start working together, this is the source of wars and all kinds of things. Having a decision and sticking to it, I kind of step myself on the back quite a few times with my own decisions. So it's a very crucial thing, and I was particularly struck with what Jesse brought and what Andrew also said. It's about something that I can't really put my hands on, but I have the experience that if there's enough understanding and trust and connection between the people, the decisions kind of emerge. They're not made. In the Dutch, they say the final decision, it falls. It just drops in. Aha, it's that moment. I think that's the way I like to decide. And because if I use my willpower, I get somewhere, but mostly there, but not where I need to be. So I bring my doubts, my questions, and I look for understanding, insight, and peace of mind, and hope for the future. Thank you.
Shall I go next? Thank you. What I bring is probably a very simple mind. What I'm learning is that we're not all saying what we mean, probably me included as well. And there are some discrepancies already here I've noticed. So really we've got to be far more self-analytical. Moreover, I think we've got to have a very good look at each other and be very honest about it. And I think the last thing is on decision making. I do like to keep it simple. Once a decision has been made, it has to run for a test period, and then evaluations coming, obviously. It's not that difficult. We all make decisions every day, from brushing our teeth to all sorts of complicated things that can be simplified. And then we have to make allowances for other things. For example, the bathroom mixer tap breaking on us sometime during the day, and the kids are in the bath. Yes, these things happen. On a more complicated global level, I would suggest that we have to have a clear view of how we got here particularly over the last couple of thousand years, if not more. Our history, global history, is very important for internal and external threats. And I'm going to stick my neck out here. You cannot have that debate with any degree of emotion. It's going to have to be in cold blood. Sheer rationale. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck because those threats are real, and although they're being dealt with presently, to my mind, in a horrendous manner, they still have to be dealt with some other way, and we have to come to some decisions about those. The other global situation I would like to address is obviously the number of people going to bed hungry every day. There's no need for it. And that is directly related to the number of people who are throwing food away every day. And there's no need for that either. So all these decisions we can make, and we should make, and we should spread our decisions far and wide. I don't see why we can't do it. All over the world right now, we are all aware, all of us here, that there are people doing this online and in person in meetings all over the place at various levels. Who was the one who mentioned ego? Somebody mentioned ego. Can't see the gentleman. Anyway, these considerations, self-considerations, to my mind, is one of the first things that has to go. We are going to have to make self-sacrifices for the benefit of others. We are doing that. How much of it do we do that? How much motivation, Andrew, how much motivation do we need to be more self-sacrificing, to put more time into it? I was debating that with myself, because I'm going to be doing more of what I'm doing, and I'm really thinking I'm going to miss my grandchildren. But the upside of it is I shall be meeting more and more people in that time that I'm allotting to other people, and that should be compensation. I don't know. So personal considerations versus what you're going to put into it. And this is the last little bit from my point of view. The more I put in, hopefully the more I'll get out. And you're all here to verify that. I'm complete. Thank you.
May I step in? All right. Just sorry for not being fully present today. I'm between the meetings, and I would just probably share what I talk for quite a long time. It's the analogy of organization to a human being is probably the highest degree of well, organizing and integrity we may know. Even two people may just try to reach this level of integrity. And so that's where we may focus our attention. So we make up the idea of subject. It's an individual who is aiming something in his life. And so then it will be not only individual, but a collective subject too, which potentially may grow into a global one. So those questions, and I believe that it was Josh who also has similar ideas in his comment at this meeting. So how to provide this is a big question. Our decision making should be based, first of all, on understanding of what's going on. We should not be taking any decisions. The decisions should be as adequate to the situation as possible. So we need to have transparency, at least, to see what's going on. And so then, based on what we see, we can come to understanding. And this understanding will be a fundamental for our trust to each other. And only when the trust is developed, so we can start feeling of belonging to the same environment, to the same planet. And so then also the only challenge, so our picture that we are trying to build, it needs to be modular. We should be able to focus on certain issues and also zooming out so to see how this fits in a bigger picture. And also we have languages different to different people, allowing different minds and thoughts and feelings to communicate to each other. So yeah, that's about all. And what I can tell for introduction, just I keep working on this issues, and so we can talk in details, but probably unfortunately on some other time. Thank you.
Awesome. Is that everyone? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for checking in. That's a lot that we've all brought. Colin, I believe Colin checked in. Colin?
Well, that's the thing about asking me a question. I can talk an awful lot. So there's a lot of people here. I do have an awful lot to say. Let me see if I can say one sentence. I think what I bring is to reflect upon people if I think that they're ready, which means I can make a profile and see what they're about. So I've been mapping out what people are about, and I find that people are ready seem to have a lot of information at hand, and people who, and when I say ready, I mean ready for me to hear their message. So the thing I've learned is that if I want to be ready, I should start writing what it is I want to say in my blog and get ready, like examples of other people who are ready that do have a lot of material to share and do have a honed message. So by me being new, I can tell who's ready and not, because I can understand what they're trying to offer and how I could collaborate with them. And I've also noticed that there's another gift that GCC brings, which is more of a community thing, more of a heartfelt thing. And I think Anna spearheads that movement with Andrew and a few people. And so that's a whole side for me to explore. But I think if the two sides work together, the feelers and the doers, and I say that lightly, everybody's doing, everybody's feeling, but it's just your personality thing. Summarize for the other people what you're doing so that you don't have to take the pain of your world, because some people like technology and some people just want it to work. So, and they have a lot to offer. They don't need to get out underneath the hood and fix it. But if they want to come look under the hood and see what's going on, it should be transparent. They should be able to see what's going on, so nobody feels like they're being excluded at some level. As well, there's a personal level where people are actually putting a lot of time in and mixing their personal work with what they're giving. So I think Doug hit the nail on the head. We have to define in the decision-making process first what's fair game to share, what's assumed free, public, open, recorded, and what stuff that's more business that I have clients, and I'm sharing some examples of things, but please don't post this. You know, it's just kind of the idea what I'm talking. I don't know, but there definitely seems to be some non-clarity, and how I can be clear is to start blogging more about what it is I want to bring and ask people to give me feedback. And I think that's what our meeting was about earlier. So anyway, I'll just.
Okay, well, we're at a choice point. Thanks, Colin. And in terms of how we collectively choose to spend our next just shy of an hour. And I would start by show of hands, and if you're off screen, you can use the raise hand function. How many people have decision-making systems that they would like to propose or put forward in this group? Can someone record that in the chat or screenshot?
Okay, keep your hands up. I got Tammy, William, Heiko, Glenn, Alex, Jesse, Andrew, Josh, Heiner.
William.
I got William.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I feel like that may be too many to go through today, and I've already proposed mine, so look how I got mine in right at the get-go. So I might suggest that we take some of that work offline as in a Google Doc or some shared document creation, so that we can have these suggestions all in one place. Are there any other suggestions on how we proceed? I'll open this to the group, actually. I just don't quite see how we're going to get through 9 different decision-making proposals in an hour. Sam.
I'm curious, before I hear a decision-making process proposal, I'm curious to hear first what that proposal is trying to optimize. In other words, when you created that proposal, or you adopted it from someone, or you adapted it, what did you think you were doing to try and bring something better to what we already practice, whether it's majority vote or something else? Might makes right, okay? Might makes right is great as long as you're the strongest in the room for some purposes. So what is it that you're trying to optimize? Are you trying to optimize for happiness? Are you trying to optimize for equality? Are you trying to optimize for transparency? Are you trying to optimize for fairness? I'm just curious what people are really trying to optimize, and really ask yourself this question. I really would be curious. If you haven't asked yourself this question, I'm not even interested in your decision-making process. I'm not interested in hearing what that process is unless I hear what these criteria are that you're trying to optimize. Over.
Second.
Doug?
The optimizing.
Actually, I think Alex was ahead of me. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, sorry, but didn't see that. Alex?
Yes, the optimizing decision-making process is based on what the group is focused on, the issues of importance, the issue of supreme importance, or the direction in which the group wishes to move. Then you proceed with the decision-making process optimized and focused. It's a simple process. Check out. Doug, back to you. Over.
Yeah, I just, I like Sam's inquiry question, but I was, before he shared it, I was relating to this as sort of, what's the most generative inquiry centered approach to this? And what comes up for me is sort of a baby version of our Saturday barn raising practice. And clearly that it wouldn't be able to happen within the remaining time of this session, but I think there would be no reason in the world, unless Tammy, you were allergic to the idea of this session on Friday getting locked for pursuing this approach until they're done. But the idea is, I would love each person that has something they're bringing to have the benefit of everybody else that's present and accounted for that experienced pull coming here as generative inquiry audience, to just take it in, ask questions, dig in, and seek to get to clarity, understanding, and internalization of each of the offerings, not necessarily as the decision-making process for GCC or in the context of a specific context, but just as a dive and inquiry into decision-making and decision-making processes, and on the assumption that each person that raised their hand and has one to bring an offer has a passion and connection and belief around what they're bringing and why, and that would also be part of their share and explanation of what it is and what brought them to it and what their contextual frame is for loving it. I would be really interested in being audience for that, sort of proactive, inquiring audience member and supporter in that. And I'd love to learn about all of these, for each of these, and also learn about them from the frame and context within which they arrived at it, if that makes sense. And unburden that exercise from any sort of muddying of the water around, is this for GCC, is this for us, is this relevant or apply in our context, before we are clear about our understanding of each in the context in which it's being promoted. And with that, I'm complete.
Doug, this is very deep in the original approach of barn raising. We've been struggling a long time to get more diversity in, to get Easterners and Southerners involved, but also to make it short, to make it terse. That's why I tried this Saturday night hangout, which I will be there in about 24 hours, to really be also concise, because all the deep questions we have been raising here is not happiness, it is suffering, infliction of suffering. My mental, I cannot say teachers, but fatherly friends, they were looking into panethics, how to reduce the suffering, which was the main goal of an emperor, not just being the keeper of the time. So actually, I'm feeling really blessed to be with you here in a bus in nowhere, and I hope I have my camera off. And I really feel we should make more than Saturday night dancing, because this is really precious time, quality time.
Thanks, Heiner. I'm definitely, just to answer that question, Doug, I'm definitely open to devoting the Friday experiments to this very central question, and exploring until we're done exploring.
And I think a thing Heiner's bringing to the table that he brought in his Saturday night series, which Heiner I hope to get back to, we can bound this, I think, in service to that idea of conciseness, of really driving people that are sharing to really crystallize and focus what they're sharing and how they're, offering it. So, I don't think it's a matter of the open-endedness of the Saturday experiment, because that's unique. That's people in their lives. Here we're sort of meme-oriented. And I think if we defined a range of time per presenter, that everybody feels like, yeah, I could do it in that and it would be comfortable. So that's a question directed at the people that want to offer these presentations or sharings, that, we can put a number on that. Just a suggestion.
Harry and I were doing a bit of collaborating prior to this session, and he suggested that we, do a 5-minute a person gets 5 minutes to explain, and then another 5 minutes for the group to ask clarifying questions. So that would be about 10 minutes per person. Not sure how the group feels about this, but that's one suggestion from Harry.
Do we have to decide on it? And if we want to decide, how do we decide? Now I'm talking, I'll just keep it brief. I'm not good at deciding, but I've done a lot of design thinking things. And I just realized that my best ideas, nobody decided on it. They just got stolen and people started doing it. And I also, when I see a great idea, I just don't really talk about it as that's a great idea, let me do it that way. So I hope to, and I'm already learning a lot here. Thank you.
You see, my experience is that you cannot be planned. It should be gifted. That is why we have this open space in 1 hour with a magic round table open forum, that you really ad hoc give time to the person who should quality speak in quality time. I'm just crossing boundaries, so maybe I'm off in a moment. Good night and good luck. Cheerio.
Good night and good luck, Heiner. Great to hear you.
Thanks, Heiner.
So we've got about 45 minutes left, and I'd love for us to be considering harvest and what we can take away and what we'd like to do moving on from this session. I love the idea of dedicating the Friday Experiment to continuing this inquiry. And I'm wondering if someone wants to steward a information collection process. And I'll pass the mic. Jesse, Andrew.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Well, yeah, I was thinking of connecting decisions to what comes after them, namely work of some kind or another. Like you decide to make lunch, well, then you have to have an idea of what to do, and you look in the refrigerator and you get some ideas. You take a bunch of things out, you start making something, and then you maybe run to the store because you're out of something, or you put several things back. It's a negotiation process of experimental growth that leads to some finished state of organization, and you put that on the table and everybody's delighted. So, but the decision didn't really have much to do with the outcome. The decision just started the process of dealing with the issues at hand. And generally speaking, this is a pattern that fits making lunch or projects at work or life careers, that you decide you have to do some work, and you start with an idea and then develop from that, and first you get it to build up, and then you refine it until it serves a lasting purpose. So that following growth like with an organism that starts with fertilizing a cell, is that the decision? Well, what's the decision? There's a whole environment that's coming together on that. But the main thing that I study in studying the sciences of design, I guess, is the natural process of design, beginning with a growth process and ending with a refinement process. a growth process being multiplying innovations and then refining them and integrating them with their environment. Of course, the absence of phase 2 is the problem that our global economy has, that it has no concept of ever refining what it's doing, and can't imagine doing anything but multiplying innovations ever faster and until we're all thoroughly confused. But you know, I don't know. But anyway, so seeing that it comes, I see decision making as coming around work and the need to put things together. And so we should maybe explore what work we'd want to do as a way of stimulating the decisions that we'd like to have.
I'll jump in, not very prepared here, but rather than talking about 7 or 8 different decision-making models, it would be fun to actually practice them. To have if we're going to be here for a while, to have each Friday have somebody present a way to work, and we actually try it and work with it and see how, so we get some experience with it, because that would be an easier way to understand it. And I don't know if I'm correct, but I'm assuming that we're looking for a way to work together, a process for being together and working together. So I think we would need to practice that if that's the case. And hopefully it would be one that other communities could adopt. If we have a model that works, hopefully it would be replicable, something that could be passed along. So I would like to actually experience them and get some sense of being with and doing the practices, one per Friday, and just that's another way to do it, rather than have them described. So, thanks. With that, I'm complete.
I like what Sam said as well, in conjunction with what Andrew said. Sam's looking for your criteria. That means that we should give it consideration before we put it through a dry run. Maybe you could say, well, just let us try it, and you'll see once we go through that it works. I don't like that idea. But I do like the idea that you go write up a couple of examples how it works and send me a link to the document instead of trying, because you can go through a thought experiment, you know, like a novel, and show how it works. And that's what William and I are doing right now. And we're starting a Monday show. Time isn't solid because lives are variable. There's all kinds of announcements, so I'm going to keep some drama. I can't tell you everything right now, what's going on. But Anna might be a guest star one day, soon. And William and other people have changed my language because I develop systems, and so I'm looking for designs. And this stuff is complicated, so I'm looking for things that are simple, that will work. And I think William has something. And it's a way to, the criteria that it has is that it breaks down what it is you're trying to say into nuggets that should be fairly easy to share, and it lines up so that everybody can kind of say, you know, this is what I'm saying. And I think somebody else said it here today too, about saying what it is that you're trying to propose and what you, yeah, Sam said it. And that's what Doug said he's saying. So Sam is channeling me and Doug in getting your story straight. And what it is, saying that you're ready means that you can present your proposal, what issue it would address. And if that's not clear, because it's obvious and simple, then you're going to have to go through a series of people asking you why, to make sure that you're not going down the wrong road backwards, because it's a lot of work. So finding the right question. So this method that William has is something I'm going to pursue in trying to interface to people that are difficult to understand, that have a lot to say, because other people's profiles are quite straightforward because they know what they want to do. But Anna told me some really interesting things, and I said, well, would you be willing to do that? And she said, yes, I think I would. So it's not guaranteed, but I know William's been talking to her, and I've been talking to her, and she's a very sweet lady, and she's trying to understand us tech heads, and we're not going to get too far until we get her blessing. So we're going to have to be more clear, I guess. And I think this process would be interesting to do what Andrew's suggesting, that we give it a dry run. So we're in that mode, Andrew. I don't think we can do it today, but we can discuss what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve simple grammar that everybody can propose. So it's like, oh, show me what's on your dinner plate. Show me what's on your dinner plate. And it's on a dinner plate, not on my back trunk, or it's at my uncle's house or whatever. Just trying to bring things together in a common way so that everybody's looking in the same direction. And I think that is the progression that we have, is become more transparent, more organized. Things are gelling. And I think my 5-minute timer is up.
I was just wondering, is there any specific decisions that you had in mind concerning this meeting? If we want to explore it deeper, because the decision making is sort of a very general term, so I was a little unsure about exactly what decisions we need to do, or
well, I realized in my consultations with Sam that there's a tension between two things. One is the meta considerations that he brings forward as being critical, and I agree. And the other is the context. What are we actually talking about? And so I think that the weaving is obviously is more complex than that, but there's those two poles that I see that we're kind of weaving around. For me, I am a proponent of making a very specific what is it that we're talking about, because with that we have the context to be able to talk about something real. One of the things I was thinking about is that Josh has put his hand up and said, hey man, I'm paying $35 a month for this website, and I would like to have that paid for by the group. That's one specific decision that allows us to look at that. And if we're starting to pay, 35, I think it's 35 to 50 is what he said. I'm not sure what the actual amount is. So if we're starting to spend that kind of money collectively, that seems like an opportunity to make a decision, an important one. I would also put in there that Sam and I have been paying for server space. Sam has bought some URLs for us. These are other examples of expenditures, which is one of the very grounded things that we need to decide as a collective. Which begs the question: who are we? What is the we here? And how when people do make decisions like, I want to press record, whose responsibility is it to store all that media? So these are some of the specifics, and I also agree that we need to, with Sam, that we need to look at those meta pieces. What is that? So we're landing on purpose here. What is the purpose that is being supported in the decision making? The who. What about when people are disregarded? What are the problems that we need to address? What are we optimizing for? All of these things that Sam suggested at the beginning are intertwingled in our considerations, and I think it's useful to have a context within which to have that conversation. and that we're learning. We don't know this. There's not a whole pant load of certainty because we don't know what's going to work. So I think that continually improving, learning, and knowing that it's good enough for now and just kick the tires, those are some of the things that I advocate for in this space, just so that there's enough openness and yet there is some structure for us to know what it is that we're talking about. Does that answer your question, Glenn?
Yeah, definitely. Just with the web page, it seems like something has to be decided, because it's not fair that he has to pay everything. But yeah, I guess we have to begin with some specifics for where we are now, and that's one example.
And there may be other costs that people have borne that haven't been surfaced in this group. I just know about Sam and I because we've talked about that. And aside from that, so Colin, for example, he's been contributing with the map making and Coggle. I guess he had a free month, but that's a $50 a year thing. And if it's in service to the GCC, how is that decision made that we actually choose to pay for that for Colin so he can do that work with us? Another consideration that was thrown in there is that there's all of our time and attention that is being donated. So that seems to show to me that there's a will to contribute to a commons here. And I personally, I'm in the middle whether I want to be compensated for what I've spent on saving or storing the video for the GCC. And alongside of that is many, many thousands of hours that we've all contributed to this space. And that is also of value. So for me, I don't necessarily advocate that the economic expenditures of people trump the time considerations. And there's a lot of value being generated here. How do we look at that value? And can we ask questions? Does Sam want to be paid? Does Tammy want to be paid? Does Josh want to be paid? Those are questions that that are important to ask to know, because if Sam doesn't want to be paid, then it's not worth having the question of making a decision. Harry?
Thanks. While this conversation is going on, I wondered, how do I do this? And I noticed I gift my time, my attentions, my contributions, my thoughts, some illustrations, and they might have a market price, but I had never considered it that way. I just want this to happen. And I also understand if I would kind of run into problems because I got some kind of decision to make about, oh, can I do this? And would it be still possible for the group? Then I might raise up my hand and say, sorry, I can't do this anymore because I cannot afford it anymore. This affordance could be time or money, whatever, any value. But this is the way I notice and I navigate it. And I only reach out for support or something collective if I can't afford it anymore. And then I would not maybe even make it a group thing. I would also ask to the most, what do you say, consult the most trusted peers and say, okay, I got this problem. Is this my problem? Is this our problem? Would you help me, support me? And then I would take it from there. And this just noticing and just throwing it in the group. And some theory to add to it, thinking from the integral perspective, I am assumed that I keep up my own pens and take my own decisions and act like an adult anyways.
Alex?
I was just going to mention that knowing that I'm contributing just for being here is a huge relief. It's released a huge burden that was pressing on me because I didn't know how I was couldn't figure out how I could contribute to the group without offending somebody.
The most powerful generative contribution and value generation ultimately is our time and attention. That's the rare earth. That's the most valuable resource that I have for my generative potential contribution to the world. And value comes in many guises and forms, and it's not doesn't have a prerequisite or requirement of mapping to fiat currency in order to be valid. we get to co-create and define the value system, an ecosystem within which we contribute and participate. And you know, within that value ecosystem, how resources flow, how we take care of hard costs, and how we take care of those that are in need of some kind of sustenance based on a needs basis to be able to continue to contribute. So I think all of that is in a bigger frame. But our time and attention is the most generative thing any one of us has to bring to anything we're doing, here or anywhere else. And I'm complete.
Yeah, I guess another question comes to me is kind of what scale of group, speaking about, for example, is there some trouble with the noise, by the way? Or is, what is it with the noise?
If you move, it's very noisy.
If I move, okay. Yeah, I just wonder what kind of scale we're speaking about as well, because let's say there's 1,000 members of GCC. Some people would just want to join the conversation every now and then, and that's their contribution, what they can offer, and that seems to be a part of this whole ecosystem. But there might be a smaller group who wants to be more engaged, for example, building the website, etc. So there might be some decisions that only apply to those who want to sort of be more deeply engaged, I guess. So that's also, I guess, always an issue where if a decision is made, let's say a group decision, what group is it? Who does it apply to? And that would depend. Yeah, that would probably change quite a bit from one situation to the next, I suppose.
Well, there are ways to generate income. I mean, it's Facebook. You could also simply have an annual dues and encourage people to contribute, once a year or once every quarter or something. And get what you can get, and just make it part of the process.
We do already have people giving monthly. I think 40, 44, 42, 50 a month that people are giving, and there's one-time donations. So we do have enough to cover that specific thing, but not all current expenses. So it's making the decision that's important. Also surfacing the fact that if people want to support the GCC, there's a affordance to do so. So not all of that is signaled, which is why the website is a critical piece of what we're doing now and how we choose to put our face forward in the world, as well as how we actually collaborate towards that. So it's mid-process.
How many people are contributing that much?
4 people are contributing, one at 20 euros. It's actually in euros. So 20 euros, 2 at 10 euros, and 1 at 2 euros 50. And then there's been one-time givers over this last year and a bit as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, regularizing that seems sensible then.
Well, there also hasn't really been any broadcast or signaling about that affordance existence, that there is a channel and means for people to do so, and framing or setting up an ask that I think is also sort of an important part of the puzzle. And that's something that was also sort of catalyzed, started, it was interrupted by lifing stuff, but will be re-energized, I think, and will happen. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's greater pull and interest, if given the opportunity and the ask, for more people to step up and step in terms of that kind of contribution.
So we've got 20 minutes left in the session, and I would encourage a harvest, further harvest. I feel like this whole session has been harvest. It sounds to me like for the foreseeable future, the Friday experiments will be focused on our collective processes and decision making. Which is great, collaborating. And I would love to hear what people would like to contribute to that process. I would also say that it would be great to have a space where people can harvest the decision-making systems and the synopses of what we understood for this session, so that we can be practicing that harvest of either words, images, maps like Colin is doing, so that we can have takeaways that we can use to share what's happened in this session today. So I'd welcome any suggestions for some very grounded next steps that people are willing to take.
Well, this session sort of migrated to the question of income, but you couldn't have every discussion of decision making be about that. How about having things to decide and crowdsource things that people would like decided, or problems that people think should be decided about, or something.
I got a concrete proposal that we see about, and I made this a long time ago, that we see about raising enough money for 1 year of the website at a time, so we don't have to worry about raising money every month. So I think that it hasn't been decided, but it looks like with the power of synergy between Joshua, Tammy, I assume Sam and Doug, and maybe others, that this website is being developed. And Josh delivered what he was asked for. Now he can take that template and sell it in the wild. I don't know how much of his work is shareable. I assume all of it, but he also owns all of it. So, but it is definitely worth something. So my proposed, how do we raise $200 or whatever it is, just to, like, that should go into an issue. And that could be something that challenges us as well. I have the questions that Tammy wanted me to do on my inaugural map. I think it was a Friday Experiment. And there was questions, what is the GCC? And I think out of that came, or soon after, Sam saying it's a container for people to come together to do things, but it's not one thing itself. And we're trying to wrestle that. And I think it's Heiner said it when he said we want to have transparent, changeable leadership. Transferable, I think, or whatever. Like, nobody really owns it, but somebody has to deal with the decisions. So we have to decide what those things are that the temporary leader is going to have to be responsible. And so that map that I had was not followed up on. Doug was going to write on GCC. This stuff's all happening. It's still happening. It's not going anywhere, but it seems like it's trying to come to a head again. It's like Neil says, it goes out, it comes back, it goes out, it comes back in. And so I think that right now we do have a pending thing. Harry brought it up. It's money. So I have a sneaky suspicion that a lot of this stuff is underfunded and people are donating their time. And I hope it's not in vain, because we're going against the grain not being funded. That doesn't make it worth any less. Maybe it's worth more. But it sure would be nice to get some entertainment going to make that money, because it's the money that's going to drive the projects and the things. And you should know how much money you need. That should be part of your webpage. I need $10,000. Not, oh, when the money comes, we'll have a party. Anyway, go ahead, Harry.
Thank you. I did not raise the issue of money. I think fuck the money. This is, for me, this is a kind of gifting economy. And this is more important than anything else for me in the world, because we need to get along together, finally, as humans. Otherwise, we're doomed. And I might die poor and forgotten, but if I can add to this solution of this problem, I will be extremely happy. So that's my concern about the money. And I think what we're doing here is we're building something, and it's becoming awesome, and I don't even know what it will become. So that was my rant for a second.
Alex.
I do it to all these people. I say sell and money, I mean value. I do.
Thank you.
Yes, value.
I love you too, Colin.
Yeah.
I always envisage the value as a bubble, a balloon jello that you squeeze. And you squeeze it in one place and it pops out somewhere else. But it's the value, and it's a manner that you own and you possess. It's the value of your contribution to the group. It's the value of what you bring. It's the value of how the work you do, the hours you put in, and the content you provide. It all mounts up, and it's all got varying degrees of value depending on the number of likes it gets. You know, it's like the one with the hands where you clap. Medium. Is it Medium? A WordPress website. You know, WordPress was hacked. I was against the idea of going with WordPress for a website because it was hacked. I thought you should go with Amazon or Weebly or someone, one of the companies that wasn't hacked. But anyway.
And we're back to decision making. I just wanted to contribute to the piece about value and value generation. For me, this is an incredible experiment in the aggregation of human value, and that for me is what this whole thing is. I haven't brought up the fact that I've been paying a monthly amount for the storage of our videos, because I'm happy to contribute that, as I'm happy to contribute the 100 hours a month or so that I've contributed or more over the last year, because it's a burning passion. And it feels like not only my life depends upon it, but so does the health of the system itself, is us learning how to be this and do this. So it's something much greater than money that motivates me to show up every day, and in fact to get up in the morning. So I encourage us to consider other metrics of value, and I personally am more oriented to the value of the attention economy, what we focus our time and attention on, because that's where I see the power and the transformation of our systems and consciousness, and that's kind of the heart of why I invest myself here personally. Yeah, I just wanted to put that in the middle, while I straddle the role of host and really wanting to put my pieces in here in the middle at the same time.
I'd love to see a process being tried next month. Is there anybody, Tammy, would you like to just be a benevolent dictator? I know it's not your style, but to have your process that you were thinking of, and to offer it to us, to give us a chance to experience a protocol, right? When I think of decision making, I think of a protocol with boundaries around it, so that, you know, all of our, I think we need that. I'm excited about a protocol, our process. Would you like to offer one, or somebody? But I just invite you, Tammy.
So thank you. And because I hosted this session, you've all been a part of my implicit protocol, which I'll share after the fact, which is, I'll share it. And which is to have an idea, reach out to trusted colleagues, propose it to the group, have the discussion, inviting other people to put in what it is that they have the discussion around it, and come out with a protocol. So I have actually, as a part of this process, as you suggested earlier, been inviting us to participate in this protocol in this session. So that is done, check. And I would invite, for our next session, that we test someone else's protocol. That way I can actually stand much more comfortably in being a host, because hosting, doing the protocol, I can't tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it, otherwise I'd be talking the whole time. So yes, heard, agreed, and let's do it. And I welcome someone stepping up to present their protocol that they would like to present for us to experience.
I've got one. When we notice a regular member not at the session, we have somebody delegated to send them a message to say, hey, the meeting's on.
You're muted, Tammy. That's a really nice idea, Alex. It is.
Tonight I noticed that Anna wasn't here, and Anna usually checks in for one of these meetings. Maybe
not for Friday. She doesn't usually come.
Good.
Sorry, I fell out there for some reason. Sorry. It's true.
So I welcome as a checkout, and thank you, Alex, for that suggestion. I think that everyone's welcome to do that, and I think it happens naturally. I definitely have pinged people, including you, when I've noticed you haven't been there, and it's a session that I think you would enjoy. So I think that's an awesome idea. And I would welcome doing a checkout of what, if you have something that if you have a decision-making process that you might want to collaborate for next session on to bring people through, and any other actions you will be willing to take moving as a result of this session.
I would like to say another thing in addition to what Alex said. I went to the event you created for today, and there is no way from there to come into the Zoom meeting. So I had to go back to the challenge Facebook and go to the announcements, scroll down and see what. So if you put the location as a URL, that doesn't seem, you cannot copy it and you click it, but you don't arrive here.
Yeah,
So,
it was a new technical glitch for me too. It wasn't an activatable link.
Maybe put the link again in the description so that there you can copy it. You know?
Awesome. Yes. And I noticed that Fleming does that for the conversation experiment. So this must be a persistent challenge with Facebook. Thanks for that, both of you.
Okay. And with that, I also check out. I was not really inspired to contribute anything because I was still full from the conversation I had before with my German girls and the topic we did. So I was only halfway with you. So, and it's late. I have to bring to bed my family here, as you saw some of them. And me too. And tomorrow we will press olive oil. So if you come over, you get some bruschetta with freshly pressed olive oil. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Heidi.
Okay, I'll check out. I realized that I think making a decision is on my own. I'm just not there yet to do collective decision making. I'm still struggling with how we can do that. But I realize making a decision is about the most lonely process I know. Nobody can do my choices for me. I never can bring that to anybody else. My choices are mine always, whether I like it or not. So that's my take. There's a lot of thoughts and inspirations, and so it has a lot to do with another topic I struggle with is ownership and initiative and all that. So I think we are up to some more conversations. With that, I'm complete. Thank you.
I'll do a quick checkout. I unfortunately couldn't dedicate the entire 2 hours, even though I tried very hard to do so. I still have to work for a living, so I had to engage on something for about 30 minutes. I'm still very curious about how proposals might be considered, given some of the meta considerations, and I am sorry if I missed any of that. I'm going to go back to this session and review it and use it as a way to look at future proposals as well. At some point, with no urgency, I have little micro agreements that I would like to investigate and explore with people, because I think, micro agreements lead to bigger agreements, which lead to decisions that lead to actions. And if we can do the little things and figure out how we do the little things, maybe we can then understand how to make them into bigger things. So that's one approach I would take. And there's still the question of identity, So if there's a question about how we, whatever this we is, that is going to do something where that something is to make a decision, it almost begs the question of who is this we? So we're kind of back to that question as well. And I'm expressing a little bit of regret because if this particular session time is going to be devoted to this particular topic, my attendance is going to be a bit intermittent as it has been on Fridays because I'm generally occupied during my business day. But I'll try and collaborate as much as I can on this. And it might actually be a test of how the process works and how the protocol works for me to see if I can actually do it asynchronously and still add any value whatsoever, as opposed to always being in real time. That might be an interesting experiment. Over for now.
I'll check out. The point that Sam just raised, this is sort of the first time where I really feel a lot of pull around this process having a hard-defined asynchronous complementary affordance. And I'd love to, I got my first sort of run through and take on the website today. So I'd love to see whether I can use the website for that purpose and see whether I can go through the process of setting something up at the site for these sessions as a companion piece where there's a repository for people to sort of post or share collateral around their decision-making processes with linked, threaded forum-like capacity for people to ask questions and, you know, thread responses and all of that, because these are all affordances Josh built and designed into it. So this would be a great opportunity to try to set all that up and then work out the signaling to broadcast to folks how to do it, which brings Sam's how-tos in. So, you know, we're pushing a lot of the buttons and pinging a lot of the bits and pieces here. They're beginning to come online. So for me, all of this is really good stuff. And I'm really happy to be getting into some of this territory, which, you know, where we start bumping up against some real concrete things. So, and with that, I'm complete. And Tammy, thank you for, you know, planting the stake in the ground. Yeah, very cool.
I'll do a check out too. I've noticed about 6 or 7 of us in regular have musical abilities. So there's an opportunity there for some kind of performance piece.
I don't know if you've ever tried singing on Zoom, Alex, but we're not as in synchrony as we seem to be, as we imagine we are. We tried to sing Happy Birthday a few times, and it's just hilarious. It's actually very funny.
Well, not just musical ability, but Colin's balancing a guitar on his head. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for bringing all of this energy, and thanks Tammy especially for bringing this question and for this protocol. I'd love to be able to give feedback or find a place to do that. I need to reflect on it a little bit. Who's next door to you? Because it's not who's next door to me. Who are you pointing at?
Oh, Doug's next to me. He said he'd create. He's on
top of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. And that allows for the feedback too. Yeah, that was good, Doug. So checking out with thanks. I'm a protocol. Yeah, I'm a protocol freak, and I don't feel ready though to. I have to think about it in terms of GCC more. So I'm not really ready to say yes, but I love protocols, and I think we would do I'm dying for us to have one and work towards one that could be replicable and takeawayable, that could work and that the world would want to see. Yeah, I love that. Let's do that because it's working so well. And just one thought is that every meeting in that protocol, every moment in the protocol should be an example of the future that we want. I love that. It's Peter Block's idea, but I love that. So thanks. Ciao for now.
Harry and Sam, your mics are open. Just curious if Glenn, Jesse, Colin, if any of you had checkouts that you wanted to do.
I guess usually decisions come around some purpose. And if this were a collaborative work group, then it would, have, sometimes it would be a research group, other times it would be an advocacy group, other times it would just be helping each other out with their individual purposes. I don't know, some kind of something to organize the decision making, which a purpose always does. So that's all I can say. I haven't been active at all in the group, really. A few conversations, and that's about it. Although I share a lot of the interests. But I'm so accustomed. I was an architect for 25 years, as well as an activist in a variety of different environments, and a physicist studying what animates systems. And so, the general idea is to want to be animated, but then the question is, what would animate you? I think it comes around to having a purpose, and using the talents. I really like the cycle of well, like for research, if there was something to research and everybody would go off and do their bit and then come together and combine it, and then go off and do their bit on something else. A cycle like that.
Colin?
Okay. I would like to show you the summary of the meeting, if that's okay. Because that's what I do. So get rid of this. Now, I've been doing some more back channel chatting, but I'm always scared about breaking the flow of the conversation with my gift. And I find if I'm not practiced with Tammy ahead of time, it definitely throws her off. So I try not to throw any of my maps up when Tammy's talking, because she's not expecting it, and it throws her off. Other people, they say, oh yeah, as you can see right here, Colin's assisting me. So those kind of things I got to work out. But here's the main map right now. And today we added a new one. And it was from the meeting we had earlier, GCC website. So what is it? And here's the link, I guess. It's not very well done. But here's the GCC website that we're working on. I won't zoom in because I don't want you to read it, but these are the different components that we're looking at. And there is a red one here that's worth looking at. It's a decision we could make. How much a month does this cost? And that should just go into a pile somewheres, and Sam and Tammy should say, how are we going to pay for this? There should be a meeting. I don't know. I have no idea. But it seems like Josh is waiting forever for support. So that might just be a donation from Josh. That was his risk. But I'm saying it's an obvious thing. So here's the meeting we had. It's coming right off of the first meeting that Tammy and I had that was broadcast. We were going to make these decisions. Are we a D corporation? What are our specialties? What are the mapping goals? What kind of legal entity? Are we a network? Are we a group? Blah, blah, blah. Governance building, stewardship circles. Like, it's not like we didn't already make this stuff. And me and Tammy collaborated on this, but it just kind of went, disappeared. No public authority, do without such. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff we have. And there's the other one here. Yeah, I guess I showed you the website. So I showed you all three layers there. I'll unshare. And there's many, many layers. And I don't know what to do with this other than to help bring awareness. And this is the right time for it. So once it's solved, then this will go into my display case. This was the one we used to do some governance thinking with. And the map will, maybe put a QR code on it that links to we are governance, and people can see, you know, there's a million things we can do, but it won't be a decision tool anymore. It will be a historical tool. So I guess what I'm getting at is that this isn't the first time I've been through this. It's a matter of picking what we want to do and do it seriously. And Sam said something that really, you know, struck the gong for me. And it wasn't the meta. That was a bell. The gong was when he says, "Well, I have a job, so I had to go away for 30 minutes." Like, that's the reality of the situation. And that's why I mentioned money. Because if you got enough money, so people don't have to worry about money, they'll do the best job you can expect from them. But if they're worried about money, or how are we going to fund this, or what is this, or the legal stuff, then you're thinking about it wrong. I think Dave Texsmith said it best, that we're a petri dish. And so we deal with the growth. Anyway, I'm complete. I just love to show my maps. So if anybody wants to see them again, just ask.
Okay.
Any other, Glenn?
Yeah. Okay, I'll just do a brief check out. Just a little to that identity thing, and identify the problem correctly before formulating a plan of action. So the problem, as I see it, is that all around the world there's thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of individuals and small teams who are working on similar things, but they're not coordinated, and so it's continuously reinventing the wheels, those kind of things, which has its charm, but it can be a little too much of it. So the problem seems to be to coordinate this globally. It's basically individuals who have a lot of ideas for all kinds of systems that could potentially scale globally. The permaculture technologies especially comes to mind. So in that sense, the GCC at the moment seems to be a connector of people who work on sustainability, global related issues. And the conversation itself seems to be at the core of it, which is why I feel that this presence thing is the core purpose at the moment. That's the core purpose of GCC, at least. The only purpose I see at the moment is it's really about the meeting place itself, the process of getting to know one another, getting to know oneself, the ability to listen, the ability to speak clearly, and the ability to learn together as the sense-making process itself. And that already goes on through the conversations, and so showing up is the main issue there. That's sort of one aspect of it, but the larger issue, how to coordinate actions between individuals around the world, that certainly goes far outside of GCC. I mean, if we start talking about the regulars in these chats, for sure. So I guess then we're talking about the big visions some of us have, knowledge repositories, etc., and building that someday. But that's like far into the future. So I probably don't have to make any decisions about that at the moment. So I guess the only decisions that I see has to be made is it's pretty important, I guess, to figure out something for financing the regular expenses, some money, and do that in a fair and simple way, so we don't have to think about it and worry about it. I think it's important to begin building the knowledge repository on the web page and have some forum threads, and I want to participate there. Then we can come with more specific proposals there. So those seem to be the first couple of steps that needs to be taken, and then then we can continue. But I mean, just to repeat, but I think it's essential. It's really the sense-making process itself, the presencing process, the meeting itself, which is the core of the purpose of this group so far, I would say. So, yeah.
Jesse? Oh, you're muted. I got you. Not yet.
I was just going to say goodbye. I got to run. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Thanks so much, Jesse. I'd love to do just a couple of thoughts. I notice one of the things that I really quite liked was the idea of the Dutch word for decision of, a decision falls. I love this. And what I saw in terms of the living collective intelligence here is, Colin's making his map to show us what's happening. Doug has said he'll create an asynchronous place on the website to be able to have that conversation happen. Those are decisions that just kind of fall out of us sitting together and having that collective intelligence. I would really love to not have our decisions be weighted towards the financial remuneration as like, well, that has to happen. What I've heard is that Josh needs that, and I want to respond to that. Not that everything's based on basically the economic drivers and the fact that we need to work. I think that the community that's building here, and the proof in the pudding is that people are willing to invest their time and their attention and their energy together to create something greater. And for me, what's key and core in that is that value is not about fiat currency. It's about the actual value that's created. And so with that, I'm deeply grateful to have been able to experience our collective intelligence and a certain amount of decision taking that's been made by specific people in the group. And I think we learn by doing.
Awesome. That's a great outcome. It's not decision making, it's decision taking. I love it.
And Sam, in that half hour where you were missing, I did lift up your idea as a corollary that I saw as two different poles. There's the meta conversation of kind of how we do it, and that's important. And then there's the specific context in which those decisions are made, which makes it real. And so I personally, I want you to know that I wished you were there. I just wanted to bring your attention to the fact that I am carrying your ideas forward.
Your space was held.
Yeah, and we'll send you a bill.
And with that, I'll ask for any further thoughts, and I think we're only 17 minutes past the end of this meeting.
Yeah.
By the way, since this was starting at 12 noon Pacific time and you normally start at 11, is it going to start next week at 11 or at 12 noon Pacific time?
Of those remaining in this meeting, who would prefer 11? Who would prefer 12?
I can go either way, so it's not a big deal for me.
I would like to see the most people be able to make it. That's my. And Sam, you're saying that part of the reason why I moved this time is insensitivity to Sam, because he knows that he can't make it at 11, but he can make it at noon. But if what happens is that generally speaking, Sam doesn't make it anyway, that will be, that's a thing. So I'm certainly willing to float that this meeting starts at 12 o'clock moving forward, and that's in deference to your time needs, Sam. So if you can keep that in mind with what you got going on, respecting that you have a job and you need to do things.
So that means the same time as today, moving forward?
Yep, 9 p.m. CET, noon PST.
Okay, will that be sort of updated in the normal link then?
Can someone take that on?
Let's see. I can make the change in the announcement pinned post. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And there's also the image.
I think the image should be erased. The times and dates should be erased. Just meeting name and the subject on the image, because the image is harder to change.
Yeah.
Can you do?
Yeah. Image, Harry.
Sorry, Harry. Was that? Will you take that on? Okay. Awesome.
I take that on.
Actually,
Thank
Harry,
you.
make a change. Rather than having it be done twice, I was about to propose, not as part of this meeting, but I was about to propose that the Saturday mornings, which used to be called barn raisings, I think are now more deep dives. So I was proposing that we call them deep dives on Saturday morning rather than barn raising. And in fact, this thing feels more like barn raising to me, but if we're going to call this Friday Experiment, I'm actually considering a different time for that barn raising thread. So maybe you're willing to make the immediate change, but I just wanted to flag that there's a possible other proposal that's coming right down the road as well, Larry.
As well, I'm starting to break into the podcast format, but I would like to talk to some people before I do stuff. But I think schedules are changing around. Things are starting to align, and I also would like to respect what Heiner had said about reaching out to the other parts of the world. So I'm kind of in a unique place, and we might be able to actually do all kinds of funky stuff if we know what it is we want to do. That's decision making, isn't it?
Decision taking. Okay, so with that, if there's no final words, I'll just thank everyone so much for your time and participation and all the gifts you bring and the needs you express. It is a beautiful composition of humans and humans doing and being. So thank you.
Thank you.
Kumbaya.